Hi, friends. Welcome to a brand new episode of Indian Food and Football. Today, we will discuss on a very important thing. A club which has got loads of supporters is struggling to make a mark in the biggest league of the country, and we have Arunava Chaudhuri with us. Thank you, sir, for joining. And we have him because we need to discuss this in a elaborate way. Yesterday, we saw one of the officials of East Bengal FC took up a stand and he said that reason for the bad performance is because of the players, of the investors and the players who have been taken by the investors. And when club was making the team, East Bengal was always in the race to be in the top two, top three, top four. And in last 3 years, East Bengal is not able to do well. It's basically only because of the investors. Club was if club was given a chance, East Bengal would be in the top, at least top two or top three of the league. And what he said yesterday was again one thing that the Konnashi Cup, with the what the ladies team won, that the youth team won of the East Bengal club. He said that this team was built by the club officials. That's why it's a replica of the success goes to the entirely because of the officials who run this club. And there are many questions. I don't want to get into many things. I think Arunava sir is there, and I think he's the best person to answer this. Sir, coming straight to the point. So, what makes you what is your take of the interview what he has given yesterday? The official. I don't want to name the official's name, but the Devobrata Sarkar is his name, and he said in the publicly that it is because of the corporates. These things are not happening in last 3 4 years. So, what's your take on this?
Very difficult to agree with him on that. I think the main problem is for him that the the ISL issues are not sort of the issues of East Bengal club for the last 3 4 years. I think East Bengal has been having these kind of issues for quite some time now. And again, to compare a Konnashi Club team compared to an ISL team, I think that's way more apart than even day and night. I think I think also that if if the standard of the Konnashi Cup of that tournament was higher, then they would have also faced problems. That's one. Secondly, I think the Indian Super Leagues, and we've talked about this in our earlier chats, that I think the competition in the Indian Super League is at of a different level. See, on one side, where what Mumbai City has been able to build or is building, even further for the next few years. See what Hyderabad, with limited resources, has done over the last 2 3 seasons under Manolo Marquez. Even arch rivals Mohun Bagan under the umbrella of ATK Mohun Bagan, where I think we've seen a recent interview from a high official of Mohun Bagan after the club board meeting, criticizing the ATK management. I think there are similar problems on there as well. I think that these people have to realize that, and I've said this in our chat, that the Indian Super League is a different beast. It's a different ball game altogether. So the challenge is really for these club officials who've lived in their own sort of dream Kolkata football world, have to realize that now you're in the Indian football world, and the football world is a different one. And if you don't play by the rules, if you don't play by what is standard, it's going to be difficult, because if East Bengal goes out into the market and wants to sign players, I think it's very evident from what Stephen Constantine has been saying during the transfer ban. The transfer ban, you are one of the culprits of this transfer ban. So if you are that great mastermind that you claim to be, then all of this would have not happened. So therefore, sorry to be that blunt, but I think that's part of the problem that we face, that people overestimate their power, their reach, and their influence in a new Indian football world and a new Indian football world order.
Actually, when I was hearing this interview yesterday, and actually it was circulated by one of the media channels in Kolkata, and I think many of us, when we saw the interview, and I was quietly, I was really disappointed. I was thinking there's a hope for Imami to continue for the next season, and I think again, I think there would be a problem next season. Again, there will be a problem with investors as things are shaping up now. Because if you see, Stephen has already said that I think continuity of Stephen would be not be there. I think he would be removed. Already they are saying this. Then again, the investors would be changed. Again, there would be a new set of players coming in, and they are not performing. So my question to you is that, so for last 20 years, East Bengal last won a NFL was I think in 2003 and 4 when Subhash Bhomik was the coach. After the Asian Cup win, they transformed that team. Then that team won 2003 and 4. East Bengal won the last NFL title. After that, East Bengal was not able to win a single NFL title for last 20 years now. My question to you is, sir, that he's claiming that when he used to make teams, that team used to do superbly well. They were always in the title contention. But sir, I have got few data. 2007-8 when he made this the same team, East Bengal finished sixth, 8 and 9 sixth, 9 and 10 ninth, and where competition was not up to that level of Indian Super League. So I just wanted to ask you, sir, are these claims are they just to say, or there are any evidence that he thinks that he could have done better? What do you think?
The club certainly could have or should have done better. Let's not beat around the bush, and they could have done better over the last 19 years since they last won a title. That's one thing. The other thing is, of course, also looking at what I said as the new Indian football reality. That East Bengal and Mohun Bagan are no longer the biggest fish in the market. And it's not a East Bengal, Mohun Bagan. Even at Mohammedan Sporting, I think they're realizing the hard way in the I League. They were talking about getting promoted to the ISL. They have to be careful not to get relegated now. And that's the reality. Mohammedan Sporting is an even harsher reality that before the last two seasons, they used to always get relegated every time they got into the I League. That's also reality. ATK Mohun Bagan or Mohun Bagan Athletic Club in the first season of the NFL did not make the Super 8. They did not play the final round. They had to beg Prirandas Munsi to get involved. So this is not a new story. Of course, these two clubs are amongst the biggest in India, but um, the game has changed. It's like when in England, Liverpool and Man United talk about things. Yeah, now Man City is the biggest fish in the market, right? So, and let's not forget Chelsea. So therefore, there are changes, and again, East Bengal has to be careful about its legacy if it doesn't want to become, I take again my example of Schalke. Schalke is still a bottom of the German Bundesliga. They're set to go down the second time in 3 seasons. Um, yeah, you're a big club, great. You've got great big fan following, but if you're not successful, you're not successful. And I think East Bengal, if you want to sign a Gyani Nikum or that kind of level of a player, what are you showing that player? What kind of vision are you showing the player? It's not there, right? I think Imami needs to be given that time, and I think that professionalization needs to happen. That, as I've said, that professionals in the sports field, especially in football, need to come forward and run the game at national level, at state level, but at clubs as well. Otherwise, um, things will not move in the right direction.
Sir, if I say you one thing that East Bengal was struggling before they went into ISL also. Barring that quest year, if you see all the years how they performed, it's a given a fact that when Bengaluru FC left I League and they joined ISL, the league of I League I level of competition I League also decreased in by leaps and bounds. And prior to that, when after 2014, mainly all the teams were basically concentrating to be in part of the I League. When Dempo Sports Club left, JCT was out of the way. It was a open place. In fact, if I can say, 2015 when Mohan Bagan won the I League title in Kandirava, and I still remember how Mohan Bagan team was a decent team that time. But with all due respect, the level of competition in that year, I think barring Bengaluru, none of the clubs were. I think many of the clubs are not there right now. In East Bengal was there, so the competition level was not there. Now, rightly said, you said that you are in East Bengal and Mohun Bagan is one of the clubs of Indian football. They are not the only club. And this harsh reality, I think the people who are giving these interviews after winning MLA Cup or winning Kanyashi Cup, where a team is winning by 35 nil, that shows the level of competition the team is facing. And hard thing they done. It's. I think people are in the. I see many ex-players supporting this when the official are saying this, and I see happening every year in the month of February, March, when ISL is in the final stage. People are very busy again criticizing the management and the corporates, and the ex-players are also having a good time doing so. I think it's time. I think everybody to take collective responsibility of this failure, because uh, this is not 4 years game. It has been happening for last 20 years. I think a guy who is already past 18 years of age, he has not seen a East Bengal Cup success, and that's a huge thing. Means that shows the club has struggled in always. So if you see under 17 league, Hero under 17 league, which was going on, what was the performance of East Bengal? Kindly, sir, you can tell me better. What was the performance of East Bengal? I think that was managed by the club officials. That league, the players were spotted by the club officials.
I think under 17 league is a good example that a lot of the big teams, not only East Bengal, where was ATK Mohun Bagan? Good question. Was many of the ISL teams with good academies have failed this year. I think it's an impressive to see uh, uh, um, that, for example, tomorrow you will see Renedy Singh's academy, Classic Football Academy, playing the final, right? So someone with little money but with dedication and hard work is more successful than all the big talkers who are around, and even people who are spending. Um, therefore, yeah, it's just not good enough, because in the old day you used to get a team together, put it together, play the youth leagues, win it, and go back, and the players were actually from other teams from across the CFL. Those days are gone. And again, Renedy has been working for 4 years, some of these boys 2 years. It shows the long term results. That's why youth development is something which is a key area. Also, decisions regarding reserve side make no sense. Some of the boys, some are moving up, some are moving down, some are staying here, some are going there. Players want to leave on loan, go elsewhere, they're not being allowed. Um, what's the plan? I just want to hear a simple plan. What is your plan for next season? What is your plan for the next 3 years, 5 years? Are you, redeveloping the club? Are you thinking about creating your own infrastructure, let's say somewhere else in the city, right? Because this Maidan thing is, again, the Maidan does restrict these clubs. All three clubs are restricted by the Maidan, I think. Of course, the Maidan has its own pull and heritage in this, but again, in this modern day and age, look at what BFC has built in Bellary, what FC Goa uses in Goa. Even the Blasters have their, even Hyderabad with limited resources have built their own training complex over there. Look at Srineri Deccan out of nowhere, huh? A facility with a stadium which is now hosting the under 17 youth league. All of this, but the Calcutta clubs have nothing, and that's also something that needs to be, looked at and questioned. But that will not be done by the media, by the especially by the Bengali media will not ask the questions. And again, our ex players also live in this bubble. They believe the things that they believe the things that they're saying, because they don't see the bigger picture, because they don't understand it. Again, Indian football is now much bigger than just East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, and Mohammedan Sporting, sadly.
Sir, if I ask you yesterday about the media, Bengal media who are running the show in Kolkata, basically, I've seen one of the medias. I'll not name the media, and people people make fun, and they are basically focusing on one thing, that is sack the coach, and the problem is solved. I think there has been any number of examples. Be it Stephen, I think a great coach will also fail in these kind of clubs, because where there is no continuity. And I always say that a good coach should be always given a time. Any good coach needs time. Steve, they are always, the club officials are always bad with Pasi, but not Pasi is not only the problem in the club, in the player playing 11. There are many players who have been taken who who don't understand in the league, who don't belong to the league of ISL right now. Sir, to come to you, who will you blame? Who is the number one culprit? If I ask you, is it the club officials, or the coach, or the players? Who will you put in the number one list? Investors.
I think the main blame has to go, if they like it or not, will be the club officials. I think they'll have to take the main blame. How can I blame an investor who comes in way too late? Again, he's committing money, not little money, but a lot of money. And then you're late in the market, and then you're trying to sign whatever is on the market. It's like, you're going to the supermarket at, it closes at 10 o'clock in the evening, and you're going at 9:55. So you have to buy whatever is available in the supermarket, and it's a Saturday evening. Sunday is closed, right? That sort of logic. That's one. I think the coach and the players are the last to blame. I think Steven is trying to do what he can, but again, the players are committing the same mistakes because certain players are just not good enough for this ISL. I mean, Ivan Gonzalez to me is a prime example of a player who was quality at FC Goa, last season, and he has to, cover so many loopholes that he's unable to play his best as a centre back. And
Correct.
that's, the goalkeepers are not good enough. Sorry, no disrespect, but the goalkeepers are just not good enough. There are other players who are not of the quality that you need. I mean, Clayton Silva with the right support. That's why, getting Jake Jarvis in will be a very interesting, addition to East Bengal FC, and maybe he is the change that they need. But again, it's not a team of the quality that you need. And again, most of the individual players in a decent side will do well. It's sort of like an India problem. When the Indian national team, when the players play at the club sides, they look in a certain way. When they're playing on their own without the foreigners, they look in a certain way. And that's the reality of this East Bengal club. And the question is also, if they're building for the summer. Good to see that Lal Chununga has committed himself to the club. But the question is, who else is staying from the current team, and who are you bringing in to fill the gaps? Because also filling the gaps will be difficult, because the players will look around and see at opportunities. And again, East Bengal is not amongst the highest payers in the league as well anymore. So that's another problem. In the past, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan, why did they have good quality teams? Because these two teams used to pay amongst the highest, or were by far actually the highest payers in the market. I remember they were shocked when Prague United was paying more than them, right? So therefore, yeah, these are realities. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Sir, recently I was having a conversation with Mr. Sukhbinder Singh, and he was saying me regarding this downfall of Bengal football, and which he has also witnessed. He used to say when he used to come to Kolkata and see the Maidan was all full of footballers. And he said me one very important thing. He said me that, Shine, tell me a team. Now I see when I go to the Maidan, I see people playing only cricket. But barring Saurav Ganguly, the Cricket Association of Bengal is also not able to produce a player of international caliber. I think somewhat Riddhiman Shah was there, but again, they are also only two players in last 20 years. But people have shifted to cricket more in Kolkata right now. What I've seen, it's a harsh reality. I think people should admit it, because I think many of the supporters who used to support these clubs have just left them, and they're supporting the cricket, and they're supporting other clubs. I think Bengaluru FC has a good fan base in Kolkata. If you ask me, Bengaluru FC, Mumbai City, if they do good community program in Kolkata, I think they can gain custom their new acquisition of their members. So what I think is, what made me think, he said be a very important thing. Where are these players gone now? Why Kolkata is not able to develop players? He said me the corrupt practice has not been. It was there in the 90s itself also. This process was there, but the level of competition we used to face was of not that level. I think JCT in the very first year was the NFL champion, because they got the players. It was against getting the best players with the best pay and getting the results. But somehow it's not happening now, and that is the reality check. I think everybody should have in Kolkata, especially Mohammedan Sporting, East Bengal, Mohun Bagan. Mohun Bagan, I think, is somewhat better off in comparison with both the clubs. But still, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan is really struggling. And day before yesterday, I was discussing one of the executive members of Mohammedan Sporting. He said me upfront, next year they are playing ISL, but I don't know how they will play. And the way he was confident, it's, I don't know if he's very much sure they will pay by paying money or something, but he was very much sure. I think. So what do you? So if I ask you one simple question, sir, do you think Stephen could have, if there was anybody else other than Stephen, could have done better job than this?
No. Simple no. I think Stephen is trying to do his best, that whatever he is able to do. Um, and it's a huge challenge for him. And again, I think the squad is of a certain quality, and you will get certain results with the squad, and maybe a positive result here and there, but then there would be another bad result here and there as well. So it would even out. East Bengal is not a top six candidate with the quality of players that they have, and that's a harsh reality. You are nine or 10th, 11th. You're lucky that Jamshedpur is having, not only Jamshedpur, but also Northeast United. Both these teams are having such a bad season. Otherwise, you would have had problems in facing, being last in the table again. But again, at least, Steven is saying, oh, you know what, I've won 4 matches so far. So again, at least is one thing that he can, boast about, that he's got more wins than in the last couple of years. But at the end of the
Correct.
day, what's the use? I mean, there is no use. I mean, it doesn't matter who's been the East Bengal coach over the last decade. Starting off with Trevor Morgan. Trevor Morgan was, of course, very close on winning the I League on multiple occasions, but didn't win it in the end. Again, that's a point that can be discussed. But again, in those days, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan were the highest spenders in the league. And you are very often beaten by a club like Dempo who was spending less than you. So
Correct.
that needs to be asked the question. Churchill Brothers with less money has beaten you. So therefore, these are harsh realities. I think the officials don't want to wake up to this reality. And again, the question is also that if East Bengal and Mohun Bagan continue to do what they're doing, at some, especially East Bengal is in danger of then that the ISL people will be saying, guys, enough is enough. You're out of the league. I think that is something that East Bengal needs to understand, that East Bengal is generating for overall for the ISL too much of negativity than is needed around this thing. What they want, from a PR perspective.
Correct, sir. Sir, I'll take the first question. I think many questions has already come. Sandeep has said that again and again, it can't be always investors' fault. First quest, now Imami. There is something fishy in club management. Sir, I think you have answered this, but there are many things to be said regarding it, and sir has already answered this question. Basically, this question was told. Morindo Shah has a very important say. He says why every time club management recruit important players, foreigners. He says that foreigners are recruited by club officials even before consulting or recruiting coach. First Omid Singh, now Ivan Imami not even there when he was P-side event. All right, this is somewhat, this is told a very correct thing. I think Steven was not in the fray when Ivan was signed. I think Steven had no say in these kind of selections.
No, he was
90% of
Ivan was one of those. When Steven says I had 12 players on the first day of training in August, and Ivan was one of the signings. Now, signing Ivan again, congratulations that you were able to sign this player. Also to some of the other players that you've signed, in Suhair, in Lal Chundunga, this, that, everything good. But the point here is again, if you had sorted this out earlier, if by May June you were clear that okay, Sri Cement is out, I need a new corporate partner. If you had sorted it, then all of these things would have been sorted in May, June. And if you had sorted it by June, then you would have had more time in the transfer period to look after who could I sign amongst the Indian players. I think that's a big problem that they have. And also gone out to the right people and said, who am I signing? Yes, there is a problem both with club officials and also with Sri Cement at their time about who they recruited as coaches and players. I think that needs to be questioned, both sides. Now, Imami needs to be given that opportunity. Imami did not get an opportunity in January really to strengthen the squad. Stephen wanted a striker or a backup or somewhat or a support for Clayton. He got it in Jake Jarvis. Again, CV looks good. But the player was sitting around for the last 3 weeks. Again, he was training, but he was sitting around for the last 3 weeks. For no fault of Imami's or of Stevens, but has happened again. The name has fallen because Omid Singh. Even Owen Singh, I would have said yes, not a bad signing. But then there was the question of how Sri Cement was signing the foreigners. Again, that's we can open a Pandora's box with that. So therefore, we have to see that certain things have happened at East Bengal, sadly, over these last few years, and this has been, yeah, not years but decades, and the way Indian football has been run. And I go back to our general discussion where I said that the way football was run on the Maidans, it's still run, they try to still run it that way, but that running that way is not even 20th century, it's 19th century running a club. You have to give Nituda and certain other people credit on the other side of how they've developed the club premises. You have to give them that, that little bit you have to give them, that they've got those training facilities and other things. I think the biggest thing that they haven't been able to do is the ground. I think that is something that I tell all the officials, that you have to work with the government, you have to work with the army, that your ground should be much better. But otherwise, yeah, again, on the player recruitment and on the working together with your investor, I think a lot needs to happen. And of course, a lot of these media interviews happen also for the galleries, while I think the conversations backdoors are happening in a different way. That's another fact.
I was hearing this story. It was a few days back that when an official of East Bengal or a Mohun Bagan or a mountain meets the media of Bengal media, especially the Bengal media, and the way they say, I think that are basically for the galleries. I think when they approach Mr. Goenka or when East Bengal approaches Imami, I think the level of discussion is not the same, and I think the body language also changes because I think I think the amount a club like Mr. Goenka is investing in ATK Mohun Bagan, or I think East Bengal somewhat. I think Imami has done their best. I think East Bengal, when playing while playing the I League, could never thought of making a team of 20-25 crores. This year, I think with so much budget constraints, also they have made a team of 27, 25 to 26 lakhs, and which is not bad, I think, which is good. Sir, any positive things which if you have seen of East Bengal, any player who has impressed you in East Bengal this season, and you think next season he will be not there anymore in East Bengal? Any talent you have seen in East Bengal?
Um, it will be interesting to see Mahesh Naurem.
Hmm.
I think the arch rivals are trying to poach him. Again, the question is for him what makes sense. I think he has a certain level of talent. Lalchul Nunga has committed himself for a long term. Very interesting, because I know that other teams were actually looking at the player. But again, the player in the last game, of course, had his issues. Um, yeah, therefore, I think it's going to be very difficult to see again. And then it actually gets difficult to name other players who I would say are hot properties in the market. Even though again the market is very limited, so therefore the question is who are you going to get? And again, East Bengal will have to throw out around a lot of money to get players compared to other teams, because other teams can say, listen, if I've got this and this coach. I mean, Bangalore today have announced that Albert Roca is coming back as an advisor, while Darren Caldera takes over as head of football. They're going to structure themselves well. Um, so therefore, it's going to be a tough summer for East Bengal if things are not put in place starting in Feb.
Sir, we have a question now. Kai, I think his name, I think it's his YouTube name. He says, "What is your opinion about the big match of both East Bengal and ATK Mohun Bagan, and also discuss on the ISL standing of 1, 2, 3." So your take on the big match, the so-called big match of Kolkata. So you will be there in Kolkata that time, 25th.
Maybe I'm not 100% certain at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the big match. It's of course it's a big match, surely, no doubt about it. But the question that remains is, it's not a derby is a derby, so therefore anything is possible. But again, ATK Mohun Bagan has waltzed over East Bengal over the last 3-4 seasons, so that's a bit of a problem. Therefore, yeah, East Bengal needs to get the act together. But again, ATK Mohun Bagan are not as good as I thought they are, or they would be this season. They did score a very important win against Odisha, but this is now going to be a very interesting, coming to the second thing about the race. For ATK Mohun Bagan, I think Mumbai City is going to win the league, which it's just impressive how this team, even in Jamshedpur, despite going one goal down, still came back 2-1. They're going to win it. Hyderabad is going to finish second, and even though they're going to play this weekend, and then yeah, third is a good question. I think any one of these teams of ATK Mohun Bagan, of FC Goa, Kerala Blasters, Odisha, even BFC, all of these clubs are now in a chance. I think if Chennai now win their next game, they could be in with a potential chance to not only getting into the top six. So therefore, that top six race is now getting really interesting.
Okay. Sir, if I see the with the first leg when Bengaluru was struggling a lot in the first I think first 10 matches Bengaluru was even below East Bengal.
Hmm.
But the way they made a comeback, I think after losing against East Bengal in Kolkata, I think that is something praiseworthy. Any changes, any significant changes you have noticed in Bengaluru's playing style recently, of late, in last 3-4 games, where they have been phenomenal?
I think, yeah, they've benched Sunil Chetri and brought in Shiva Shakti. I think that's the big change. Shiva Shakti looks a very promising striker for the long term for not only BFC, maybe even for India. Um, and a certain Roy Krishna also finding his form. Not only him, but even a Rohit Kumar has been amongst the goals recently. So it seems like, benching Captain Fantastic has been sort of that change that BFC sort of needed to get itself and get their act together again.
Sir, if I ask you two things, basically, two things of this league, which differentiates this ninth edition of ISL to the other edition, what do you think? What is the main difference in this ISL? What is the level? What is the two key takeaway points from this ISL season 9?
The strength on one side of Mumbai City, which makes me very happy on one side. I think Mumbai City has sorted itself out in a way that they are as dominant as they potentially could be in this league. So it's really good to see. But Mumbai City FC is not only working on this season, but is working on the future as well. They've got the best current Indian players. We've discussed it in an earlier podcast and talking about the quality of a Mehtab Singh amongst others. Looking at the next generation of Vikram and Gurkirat in there. Now they're getting that next after generation and players like Nikum. So that's good. I think, but it's bad for the league if Mumbai City becomes a Man City sort of scenario. And on the other side, I think from a negative perspective, I think the weakness of Northeast United. I think we've never had a team with that many losses, where again they've tried to change things, it has not worked for them, and the weakness of the team. So those would be sort of my extremes. And I think the saddest thing which I see is that seems to be a lack of interest, a little bit of an apathy when it comes to people attending matches at grounds generally across India. Let's take the Kerala Blasters out. I think that's a story in itself. But I think all other teams are sort of East Bengal because we're struggling. ATK Mohun Bagan because of this whole remove ATK campaign. I think is a thing, and other things. Yeah, and again Northeast United are so bad that they've dropped to triple digit figures of people attending matches. So that's very sad to see.
That's really sad, sir. Really, very sad. Means, who could have thought that Northeast support? I think there was a least. I think 500 people came for a
Mm.
match of Northeast. I mean, that's a very bad sign for a place which has a lot of potential. I think lot of potential from that place. Sir, there's another question. He says that, sir, you also know Kerala wins last match in this situation. How ATK Mohun Bagan stand second or third position in the points table? He's saying that. So, what are the chances of ATK Mohun Bagan staying in the second or the third position? He's
I,
doubtful about it.
I think second is out of the question. I think Hyderabad is going to finish second. I think the question is for ATK Mohun Bagan to ensure top six. And if they can finish third or fourth, they have a home game. I think that's an advantage in the first leg playoffs. or the one-legged playoffs between third and sixth and fourth and fifth. So therefore, I think that needs to be their aim. But again, this race will be now really, really hot with again with the Blasters, with Goa finding form, BFC finding form, Odisha is still there. Maybe Chennai can still stay in the race. So therefore, we're going to get a few very interesting matches this month.
Correct, correct. And I think this week also, this 2 weeks now, from now on, next 3 weeks, I think there will be many important games coming up in ISL. Very, very important games. I think everybody is looking up to it. Sir, if I ask you another question, if I stress on the topic which we are discussing today, East Bengal again, of East Bengal Club now, uh, sir, can you say me uh, two things, two or you can say me in single point also. What is the basically the problem in the thought process? Thought we have discussed regarding the thought process of the officials, thought process of everybody. But don't you think there is a question needs to be asked about the thought process of the supporters? In the recent newspapers, I think when Neetuda was addressing the media itself to yesterday, Neetuda was saying that there are many supporters who are writing letters to the club officials saying that they don't want to compete in ISL, and the reason they are giving is that in I League, in team was winning and we were happy, and we want to play don't want to play in ISL, and I want to play in I League. So, uh, if they are supporters, if I ask you, means it is something like if you are not doing in class five, in standard five, you need to go to class four, and parents are saying we don't want to my kid to be class five, and the kid wants to go to class four again. So is this a mentality problem or a mindset problem? And official is saying this in a very deep thought in a public press conference when people are asking him that he's saying that yes, if I say in Bengali, he says that ঠিক আছে মানে এই কথাগুলো কিন্তু আমাদেরকে দেখতে হবে এই কথাগুলো আই লিগে is this kind of things to be discussed? Even we are discussing these things in publicly and by our club officials. What do you think about this? The mindset of the people, of the supporters.
First of all, I don't know if those letters are there. So that first question needs to be asked because it's a letter of support for the club officials. Because that substantiates the point that the club officials saying that we have done a better job in the I League than the corporate investors in the ISL. That's one. Secondly, I think again, East Bengal as a club, East Bengal officials, East Bengal, large part of the East Bengal fans have not realized and recognized you are no longer the biggest fish in this pond. There are bigger fishes than you. In the worst case, there are sharks which will most probably eat you up. That's the reality, to give a sort of picture to the whole reality. You are one fish in a huge swarm, and you have to fight in the long term for your survival in this setup. Either you wake up and do what is necessary, or at some stage over the next 3 to 5 years, you will disappear from this level. You'll be happy playing Kolkata League. You might not even be playing I League at the time, because the way the teams are jumbled up, this will not even work in the I League. If you see the quality of some of the I League teams, if you look at Roundglass Punjab, you look at Srinere Deccan, you look at Gokulam Kerala, all of these are corporate clubs. All of these are corporate clubs. And they are by far not perfect. But at least some things these guys are doing right to be there where they are. Right? The same example again, Mohammedan Sporting, with all that buzz that they had, this, that, everything, whatever they're doing, they are fighting for. If Mohammedan Sporting needs to wake up to reality, you are in a situation. Uh, uh, yeah. So therefore, that is a huge problem. That these realities are there, and again, East Bengal in a league where there is no relegation, I think that's safer for you than a league in the I League where there is now relegation. That could be a danger because even at that level, are you going to be able to compete? Not compete? No one knows. No one knows.
We have a question from Audit Mitro. He says, an investor willing to come on its own versus an investor being forced to come due to political intervention. Is this the root cause which is letting down this 100-year-old club and its supporters? What is your take?
Without this political intervention, there wouldn't be investment.
Correct.
Finished.
Correct, sir.
No point of discussing. And this is again, this whole remove ATK movement. They need to wake up to reality. Is you guys, you can criticize your club, you can criticize the entity, but you need to realize that Mohun Bagan without ATK and without Sanjeev Goenka would be in the similar situation as East Bengal, because again, political force would be needed to get an investor for you, and that you see the end product with your arch rivals.
I think people are not accepting the truth. I think many of the supporters and the Kolkata culture is also actually is a root cause of this problem. What I think, they are not diagnosed.
Kolkata and Bengal football has a problem. Kolkata and Bengal football, and I say this as a Bengali myself, thinks
No,
it's the best, and it's number one in all of its football, right? And it has not been. We have been, and Bengal football, these clubs, some of the biggest names that Kolkata has created, these people are at fault of why Bengal slash Indian football is in the state it is. And we have to wake up to that reality. You are at fault. Some of the biggest names, and I've spoken to them and I've told them on the face that you speak about the 50s and 60s, great. Okay, brilliant. Who are the coaches? Who are the managers thereafter in the 70s, 80s, and 90s? You guys, right? Okay. So you are the cause and the root evil, and I call it evil, of why the decline of Indian football has happened. We need to discuss that. We need to say it onto the face of the people who have caused the decline, not only of Bengal football, but of Indian football. Otherwise, we will be running in this rot, and all of us are saying, hey, yeah, it's all fine, it's all bad. I was yesterday in a Twitter spaces where we're discussing the issue of age fraud. And I was speaking last week with a lot of people around the under 17 youth league, where people are saying, I've given up, it makes no sense of having this discussion. Even if I put in a complaint, I know that a 25-year-old is playing. A 25-year-old is playing an under 17 youth tournament in India. These are the realities. Indian football, that people follow Indian football, that people like us are crazy enough to be chatting on Indian football, that we follow our passion. Indian football does not deserve our support, sadly. East Bengal does not deserve our support, actually. Mohun Bagan does not deserve its support. This is the sad reality. Sorry, just getting emotional, but that is something which I feel very,
No.
very strongly about, because it's a disgrace what certain people are doing with this sport. They're destroying this sport from the inside.
So
Destroying.
if I say you, this decline actually had started from the 90s itself,
No, it
where
started earlier.
actually
It started in the 60s itself, when India did not recognize that other parts of Asia were starting to play football. The AFF has to be blamed, that the AFF, the biggest story is, oh, you know what, we did well in the Olympics. In the 50s, in the 50s and 60s, people moved to the FIFA World Cup. The other countries did not care. Did Hungary care about when you were playing the Olympics? No, they were not. Ferenc Puskas and all didn't turn up. That is you know that is the problem. And again, you know Monendro is very well said. Again, it's a question that I've raised. I've tried 10 years ago. There was this crazy thing. A German guy came in who had business interests in Kolkata, and he said, listen, I would like to do a Bengal league on a franchise system. This is pre ISL. And in the end, for many reasons, didn't happen, because yeah, the IFA was in the end not interested, because in the end, it's all about Kolkata. It's all about the Maidans. And sadly, yeah, this Jamindar family mentality is there, because all these clubs are run by rich people who want to have their own fiefdom. And that is a sad part. There are exceptions, of course. There are exceptions. Let's say like a sports club like United Sports, where Nobabda and Olokda and all these people are trying to do their things. They're good to see them trying to get back into the second division. But even these people, when I talked to them, I spoke to Olokda on my last trip, and met him, and Olokda said, "Oh, you know what? AFF threw us out." I said, "No, AFF put in club licensing. You guys did not want to do club licensing. You wanted to be there because you were there. No, no, but they would have not done it to the bigger clubs. I said they would have done it to the bigger clubs. Look at the first NFL. Mohun Bagan did not make it to the last eight. It was begging to Mr. Das Munsi that Mohun Bagan was allowed in. And we're talking about the
Correct.
90s. And I know Priyoda used to say, a lot of things need to change. We need to take football out of Kolkata, which he will not have told these people in the face, because then he would have had problems, because then, behind via politics, people were told, then why you're telling these people what the realities are. We need massive changes, and it's the good thing to see that a team like Mumbai City has done what it has done. That Hyderabad, with not that much of money, but despite all of that, has built a great team, has brought in a Manolo Marquez, has built its own infrastructure. Look at Kerala Blasters. Kerala Blasters should be the role model of what the clubs in Kolkata should be doing. In fan engagement, fan interaction, and in a relationship which is created not only between the club and the team, but also look at Ivan Vukomanovic, regarded as a difficult manager, not an easy character. He's at ease at the Blasters. You know, you had all of this. Trevor Morgan, old friend of mine. I remember Trevor used to say a lot of things, and he spoke a lot of these stuff, spoke about a lot of these things with the officials, but nothing ever changed. you know. But Trevor loved Kolkata, loved its football, loved India in a way. Of course, he was well paid. Therefore, he said, in the end, I'm saying it. No one's listening. I'll try my best. I'll try my best with my team, and that's the reality. And that's the sad part, that clubs of the stature of East Bengal or Mohun Bagan should be world class. Should be world clubs. They should be named in the same breath of Boca Juniors, a River Plate, a Flamengo, a Palmeiras. Those kind of levels.
Sir, recently when I was discussing with many of the my known people, they're saying that we have the biggest Asia's derby right now. We are able to garner so much people in watching the game, and sir, I was somehow surprised that days are not far away that when we'll see uh, when Gokulam comes in the ISL, and when they will pay in the ISL, will will be. I think the shift of powerhouses in Indian football has already changed, and I think people are very much unaware. And I think if they're aware also, I think they are not at all not making this making the what would I say? I would rather say they are not paying attention to it. Well, I think they should have paid attention way before this. And as correctly you said, sir, that many of the ex-players are the reasons, are also to be blamed for this, because I remember a story. It's out of topic, but in 1998, I think when India was playing in, I think I think pre-Olympics qualifiers, I think at that time there was under 23 team playing that under thing, and one of our ex-players who has passed away. I don't name anybody in the live show. He was the coach of the team, and the team lost 2-0 to Thailand in Bangkok. We played and we lost 2-0. Sir, I think you are aware of it, which match I'm saying about. And Vijen Singh and Dibendu Biswas was part of that team, who I think both were the strikers of that match. And in the home leg, the team got to just drew that match, and Thailand went ahead. The mindset of a coach is saying upfront in a publicly is that कम गोल खेले ही होगा मीन्स
Yeah,
गोलটা
yeah.
कम खेले means if I concede less, I think people will be happy for it. So if this is the mentality people have been injected to, for example, under 23 player, under 20 player is saying that one of the greatest stalwarts who have played in so-called the biggest showcase, that showcase of the art Olympics at time, and he's saying this kind of things to a player under 7 to under 17 or under 20, under 23 team, is that shows that the mentality has I think evil. I think you said a very important thing, the evil. That's the correct word to place it. I think it would be harsh, but I think people should admit now it's an evil thing practice which we have been doing. Few days back I was discussing with one of in my show with one of the lives, one of the guys. He was saying that East Bengal was good in I League. I League had that in itself. ISL doesn't have that charm in itself, and was in. But my friend, I didn't say him. He was very much junior to me. I said him, my friend, that problem is that ISL standard of ISL is totally different from I League. I League, where was I League? I League in recent 2 3 years has become more competitive. I think ISL has given them a wake up call. I think because I League was not that competitive. Where they are saying the match is to go to the last match to be decided. That doesn't mean that the league has become competitive. So any difference of ISL and I League? Any take on this, sir, from your side?
I think when the Indian Super League came in, I think there were certain formulations by Praful Patel which were wrong at the time. I think certain things he should have not said in 2014. I think it was clear from the onset that the Indian Super League at some stage would replace the I League as the top tier of Indian football. You saw from the first year, at regard to investments, that they were higher. They were than the I League clubs could ever spend. I mean, if you look at the budgets that an Aizol, an Aroka, a Trau run their club, if you see how their local players are kept, I know outstation players who only played for these two clubs because they were playing in the bubble in Kolkata in the last 2 years. Certain players said, I will not go back. Um, and you think about that, their cost, so to say, their cost base, some of these Aizol Niroka players, get 25,000 a month. You know, with that, you would not even play CFL, some of the players, right? So, but with that money, that's more than enough to sustain in that part of the world. But you cannot compare those when compared to the crores that the players get in the ISL. Even mid-level players are getting 70, 80 lakhs, a crore per season. So we have a huge problem of that discrepancy. And East Bengal and Mohun Bagan in their fight did never realized that the ISL clubs, as I've said, are bigger than them potentially. In regard to JSW, BFC, Tatas, Jamshedpur FC, Mumbai City FC has a City Football Group in the background. Even the investors in the Kerala Blasters are bigger than these two clubs. You know, the Odisha government supports Odisha FC. FC Goa also, Jaydev Modi, has that financial clout. So already six clubs who potentially have bigger pockets and budgets than, I forgot Chennai FC, the Danis, Danis, Abhishek Bachchan and Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So most of the league has more potential than you financially. And therefore, again, I come back to my German Bundesliga example because, again, we talk about fan culture, this and that in Germany. Schalke to me is my prime example. If you look at fan culture, Schalke would be amongst the top three always from a fan culture perspective. From a football perspective, they're bottom of the Bundesliga and they're likely to go down again to the second tier. Therefore, East Bengal should be happy that in the last few years, or up to now, and it will continue most probably for a while, there is no relegation. So my request to the club would be for Nituda and all, speak to invest. And this is one thing which I've not understood, that the communication lines are not as open as they should be between the club and the investor. This is a weird one. You realize that when you hear that official press conference that the Mohun Bagan officials had after the executive committee meeting. It's like, are you not talking on a regular basis? It sounded like as if, ATK Mohun Bagan is running and you are just bystanders and sometimes you give some gyan and then maybe some things change or something or not. No. Why are there no open channels? Why are you not talking on a regular basis to these people? Why is it not playing under, keep it as ATK and let them play in red and white and blue, or let Imami play in their colors or whatever they want to? Let East Bengal officials and Mohun Bagan officials show how much of money they can raise to play ISL. Because they can't. Sad reality. This is a big boys club. You're lucky that it's only ISL. Think about it. You had to put in a cricket team and you had to play IPL. You wouldn't be taken by these franchises as ball boys or even groundsmen or whatever. You don't, because you don't have anything. Because in the new Indian sporting ecosystem, which has developed since 2007 when the IPL started, it is not about heritage and history, it's about what you can do in the here and now and what you can do in the future. That's what I say. What we created in 2014 in Mumbai City, I know what we did in 2014. You now see the results. A lot of the grassroots, the youth football, Mumbai City didn't do anything properly in the last first 4 5 years. People will tell you. But certain things were done. Mumbai City actually got a grassroots award in the first year from the ISL because our technical director Nishant Mehra put stuff in place where you now see the results. Some of these boys who were a part of the grassroots program are now playing in the academy of Mumbai City. But it is not there. It'll take another 5 years, but calmly, quietly, they've been doing it. That's the reality. East Bengal, Mohun Bagan talk so much. You have been buying clubs. You have been the clubs that have bought mostly from the Tata Football Academy. Tata Football Academy, the most talent who have been destroyed of TFA are East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, and Mohammedan. Sorry, because you had the money at the time, and you got in the players every 2 years. 25 very talented boys coming out of the academy, 5, 6, 7 were taken, and you know, Mal's Mama, Chota Mama was his name. Saw him here. Did a camp in 2002 for the under 17s. He he destroyed in a 3-3 draw in the end because Lukas Podolski scored 2 goals against us as a 15-year-old. um, Mama was all over the place against Cologne. And that player, due to a knee injury at Mohun Bagan, Mohammedan Sport, both these clubs destroyed this player. He in the end had to go back to Mizoram, was playing for Mizoram Police. I don't even know what he does anymore. The biggest talent that I have seen physically myself out of Indian football. Those are realities. Again, that also happens at Man United, at Arsenal, at Bayern, at Barca, that talent is destroyed. But these are the things. You are not producing the talent that you could, should, need to. You used to win under 18, under 19 leagues by taking on players from the CFL because there was no pre registration in the past. Again, and the question is were there actually under 18 or under 19 team? That's a totally different discussion. So, therefore, these are realities. But someone needs to tell these people and say, okay, if you want to talk in the media, go ahead, do it. But let the professionals run it in the background. Again, Imami has a lot of things to rectify themselves. I think they don't have the expertise that they need to have. That's another problem. Sri Cement had that same issue as well. Because then these people can argue with the club officials, say, guys, these are the things that we need to do. And also, again, these investors also need to. I think also what the problem is, it's so professionalized that they need to have these regular conversations with the club officials. Keep them informed, keep them in the brief. Let them think that they're actually calling the shots. Sounds bad, but actually that's a fact. Play the game, play psychology, and get the best out of it for your club. And that's the thing. That's what the need of the hour for East Bengal and Mohun Bagan is in the long term. I think this is otherwise you will not be able to compete.
Sure, sure. So we have a question now, and there are two, three questions before we wrap. Kai says to stay Northeast United this season and also next season gameplay. ISL management gives a chance to other teams like I League to pay ISL. Please discuss about it. Sir, what's your take on this? ISL already, I think Kalyan Chaubey has said this that next year champion is playing ISL.
So
Any news you have?
yeah, so the original franchisees have a 10-year agreement with the league to play ISL. So that ends in 2024. 2024 will be a very crucial year for the ISL. So what is happening in the summer, that the potential champions, which look to be either Roundglass, Srinidhi, or Gokulam, three entities who can financially play ISL. So that's a good sign. It's better. Again, football is a crazy one where theoretically Aizol or Trau, Neroka, or even Real Kashmir could have won the league. That would have put the ISL in front of problems. Therefore, they put the caveat in and said, listen, yes, but you have to fulfill certain ISL criteria which these clubs cannot fulfill. Let's be honest. So from that standpoint, it's good that the top three that are fighting for the title, first of all, have a solid foundation and have the deep pockets to play ISL. That's one. And Northeast United will at least play the 10th season of the ISL, and then we'll see what happens if John keeps the club running, if he shuts it down, if because to get it sold is, I think, looks very difficult at the moment.
Sir, I think I'll take the next question when Monindro says, if you see the Kerala Premier League in fan attendance, it will blow in your mind. Even small state like Mizoram has done better than Bengal. That's that. I think you would agree, sir.
No, I don't, because I've been doing commentary for some of the matches in the Kerala Premier League, and the stadiums are empty. There are at least 50 or 100 people at the grounds. So that's a myth. It comes only at the final stages when these stadiums are full. Even Gokulam Kerala playing in Manjeri in Malappuram has played in front of an empty stadium. They've had 2,000 fans in the stadium. That stadium which hosted Kerala versus Bengal. So some of these are myths. Yeah, right. So it's all not better elsewhere. So the Kolkata Football League does get more fans than these other leagues. That's a fact. Mizoram, again, they play, again, it's a state of 1.4 million. To compare that to large states of Bengal, 100 million, whatever, again, they have 3, 4, 5,000. You know, I think that's very, very important. That again, if they get 3, 4, 5,000, that's like 50,000 coming in Kolkata. So that way, yes. But Mizoram, yes, Mizoram. Why? Because the State Football Association is run by Tete, who's done a great job. The government has supported them over the last decade and more. The clubs have done their work. You know, Mizoram Premier League has strengthened not only a top tier but a first division, even with the lower tier now. They've got an under 13, under 15, under 18 league. They're looking at an under 13 league. They're starting a women's league. You've got a television partner who was bold enough a decade ago to say, listen, I'm going to give you 1.25 crores as television revenue for the Mizoram Premier League. Not a lot, but for Mizoram, it is a lot of money. You can do a lot with that. So that's why it's happened. So therefore, the leadership at the top has to be right. The problem has been and is, again, there's a German saying, the fish stinks from the head. Therefore, right leadership doesn't matter. Federation, club, district, whatever. If the leadership is right, only then can things. You need visionaries to take Indian football forward, to take these clubs forward, and people have to allow them to do the work and also say that the harsh realities of what is happening.
Sir, before we close today, so any positive things to what East Bengal should do to revive its fortune in ISL? Anything you think East Bengal should do now? I think it's time now. It's been long 20 years. I think a generation has passed, I think, who have not seen a success of a East Bengal club. And I see many of the people are getting disappointed. They're not turning up for the games. I think boycott one is something is a myth. I think they were losing the game. That's why the supporters have stopped coming. That's a very that is something which I think a match was about to be called off, and we say that we are not coming to the stadium. It was raining that day, so it is something like that. But so anything, sir, you think that a club what that needs to do to be at least in the top six, if not in the top two or three, top two.
Forget
And
top two forget the top two at the moment. I think East Bengal need
And
two
if you
three
say me,
years.
sir, if you say
Yeah.
me, tomorrow or day after I will meet Steven. I'll tell him about it.
First of all, I think Imami also needs to put certain things in the background in place. I think the football expertise with people needs to be there. That's one. As I said, I think Imami and the club need to work together. That these kind of statements don't really come out, because that is, I think, harmful for the relationship. I think someone also at some stage needs to tell Nituda that these kind of statements don't help again, and just tell him, listen, what has happened over the last 4 or 5 years? Look at how many corporate partners you have sort of killed, in that way. That's one. I think East Bengal needs to be in the market for the right players. Again, I know most people will not like me, but knowing Stephen for so many years, I think Stephen, understanding of Indian football, understanding of Kolkata, understanding of what is needed, I think, yeah, I would give him another chance if I was asked to rebuild the team, but then take him into confidence and say these are the kind of players that are in the market, that are available. Can you build something with this, and have a frank conversation with the coach? That is what I would do. And again, don't expect something that next season will dramatically change. I think top six is, yes, is something that East Bengal should aim for, but for that the right players need to be signed, and especially the foreigners. You need to have those foreigners who make a difference. I think Mumbai City this season have shown. What did they do? They brought in Greg Stewart. They brought in Jorge Pereira Diaz. They brought in Alberto Noguera. From within India, knowing that these three players know the league well. What did they do as well? Listen, our defense was leaky. Royston Griffiths, Melbourne City Football Group brings that player in. I brought in last winter. I brought in Lalinzwala Changte. I'm so happy to see what this boy is playing at the moment. It's just great. I remember I met him in Mizoram. He was 15, 16 the first time, and I remember Tete was saying, this could be one of our big players in the future." And he was standing next to JJ and Dika with Mama in the background, and again, and I remember we took him to Norway to Viking Stavanger, and Viking was willing to offer him a contract in 2019. That's great to see. So therefore, planning, strategy, building. What am I having? I need to have the expertise in house. It's not just having a sporting director, but just a general two three people who understand football, marketing, also communication. I think East Bengal, certain things. I think certain things they do well on social media. Certain things, for example, the lifting of the ban. You can't just do post a notice as if you're a sarkari office and say okay, the ban has been lifted, and that notice is published on all different platforms. So small little things. I'm just again, these are just things that come to my mind, and get the right
Sure.
people in the background on board for East Bengal to be successful again. And look a little bit also what Mr. Goenka has built in his sporting empire. Of course, ATK Mohun Bagan is not his priority. They have a cricket franchise. They have other franchises in other sports as well. But I think there's certain things that the Imamis potentially could copy from Mr. Goenka, and maybe the Agarwals have a conversation with Sanjeev Goenka about these things.
Okay, better days are ahead, I think we should say. I think let's see. Let's be hopeful that East Bengal comes back from a low which it has gone for last 20 years. I think the fans are really eagerly waiting for some sort of success. I think top six, I think, would be realistic, if not top two, because there are things can't be changed overnight. But this can happen. But let's see. We are positive. Thank you, Arunava sir, for joining. And sir, we'll plan a show after if you have time again against Mumbai and Hyderabad match. After the match, I think if you have time, we can join and discuss about it, because that match I think would be the match of the season. What do you are you excited about that game?
Certainly, I mean, excited on one side. On the other side, again, I think these kind of matches, there's so much of expectations behind them that it can be, over expectations. I think uh, Mumbai City have shown, and if you think about the first game of the season, it was a 3-3. High scoring game, and Hyderabad have settled well as well. But Mumbai City have this aura of invincibility, I feel, and that's what makes it quite dangerous for all the other teams. I mean, especially that Jamshedpur game. I was thinking, okay, now that run is coming to an end. I felt, this is enough. Brilliant. All that talk is out, and then you can regroup. But the way they came back, the way they pressed Jamshedpur, and of course, that Vikram Pratap Singh goal is still, some will say it's a fluke. But again, this only happens when you put pressure on your opponent. Therefore, I think Mumbai City is good. Hyderabad, of course, have done their homework over the last few matches rather calmly and quietly, because everyone is looking at what Mumbai City is doing. So therefore, yeah, it's an exciting period, exciting match, and I think it deserves a good attendance. It looks like it's most probably going to be sold out in Mumbai. So therefore, yeah, looks like a good game to watch.
It is sold out. I think I heard actually yesterday. I was discussing with one of the key members of West Coast Brigade. I think they're saying it's getting sold out that day, and it's a Saturday also. I think perfect day
Yeah,
and perfect weekend treat for the fans. So, sir, we'll be there on Saturday. We'll discuss about that game, and then I think the game of the season. I think till now for me, I think Mohun Bagan and Mohun Mumbai City FC, the away game was the game of the season for me. So, what is your take? Which was your best game till now in ISL?
I would, yeah, I think Mumbai City ATK Mohun Bagan would be first, and Hyderabad Mumbai City would be a second close, that 3-3. Um,
Right.
so those would be the top games, even though also from a Mumbai perspective, that 4-0 against Kerala Blasters, the first 22 minutes, I think that was, yeah, those were most probably the best 22 minutes that you can see. And if Mumbai City had continued that day to play the way they were playing in the first 22 minutes, it could have gone 7-8. I mean, it could have been like a Germany Brazil sort of scoreline. So, therefore, again, and that's, I think, the danger that Hyderabad has had. Northeast has also conceded 4 goals over there. That if Mumbai City get their goal in the first 10 minutes, one or two, often they even get 2 goals in the first 10 minutes, you cannot stop that attacking prowess that they just have with that combination of Pereira, Diaz, Stewart, and then you have Bipin and Changte, both of them on the wings, brilliant. Ahmed Jahu looks at it best. I mean, last season I thought it's time for Ahmed Jahu to go home after they did not reach the playoffs, and he's brilliant, doing brilliantly. And then Royston Griffiths, Murtada Fall now looking again like he's in his prime form. Mehtab Singh doing well. Again, the right and the left back look sometime to be an issue with Beke and with whoever's playing on the left. They've tried out 3 or 4 of the players. Um, yeah, and again, that's why Mumbai City look very, very good. That's why Hyderabad, I think, needs to sustain itself in the first 15-20 minutes, and then anything is possible in those games.
Let's see. I think we'll have a cracker of a game that day. So thank you, sir, for joining in a very short notice. Again, you planned and we planned this show. Actually, this yesterday after I saw this video, I think we made it a point. Let's discuss it. I think no better person than you to discuss this because I can have many guests in Kolkata, but I think they would have played it they would have ducked many questions, but you have played it a straight bat. All of them have gone out of the park. But thank you, sir, for being there and always supporting and always being encouraging to everybody. To me also, I think the person who always comes to my mind when I think Indian football to be discussed. I think your name always comes back. I always see your videos when you're discussing with other YouTubers, when you are discussing with. I think when you one of the topics recently we were discussing with. I think you were there with one of the one of the new subscriber. One of the new YouTube channel where you seeing you were discussing about a 2047 roadmap. I think it was really a great experience hearing you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night here from India and Kolkata, and hope we'll meet soon once you're there in Kolkata, and we'll
Certainly.
have a great time. Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Shayan, and we'll speak very, very soon.
Thank you, sir. Bye.